Now to a Supreme Court case that could decide the future of television. The nation's biggest broadcasters are suing New York-based tech company Aereo. The company developed tiny antennas that allows anyone with an internet connection to watch live television. Here's the company's advertisement of their product.
Anyone can watch live broadcast TV for free off the air with an antenna. Aereo has taken that antenna and made it unbelievably small. Small enough that hundreds of thousands can fit in a single room, where you can access them from the internet and watch live broadcast TV as it airs. Pick and choose the TV you want. You can even record that live TV and play it back, like a DVR without the box.
Well, companies like CBS and NBC say this product enables stealing because using Aereo does not pay redistribution fees. Aereo, on the other hand, says it's a consumer's right to watch with their own antenna on their own device. Now it's up to the nation's highest court to decide. For more on what this means for the media industry, Christopher Chambers joins us now. He's a journalism professor at Georgetown University. Welcome, Chris. Great to see you. So if this tech company wins, what does it mean for the future of television?
Well, we're talking about a tsunami here because, very interestingly, the legal issue is very, very defined and simple. It's an interpretation of Section 106 of the Copyright Act, which has been around in one form or another for 200 years. The ability to, demand fees or permission to basically replay your content. And what Aereo is saying is like, look, we're not stealing anything. We're leasing basically antennas so people can get the stuff and play it. We're not stealing it. We're not appropriating it. But what you've done is when you cut out these retransmission fees, we're talking about billions of dollars that the networks get from, say, the cable companies. And this allows the networks, of course, to extort money from the NFL or Major League Baseball or the NBA to get the Super Bowl and all kinds of cool things. So we're talking about an ecosystem that is going to basically go into meltdown if this is allowed to continue. Because, for Aereo, they might survive, they might not. But when you kill these redistribution fees by putting a mark of approval on this business model, you have fundamentally changed the broadcast ecosystem, and that is going to, upset a lot of people to the point where, you've already had the chairman of Fox and CBS say, well, we'll just become a cable network, to avoid that kind of stuff.
Speaking of Fox and CBS, I want to read a part of the statement from CBS, who, as we can expect, is not happy about this technology. They say, quote, "We believe that Aereo's business model and similar offerings that operate on the same principle are built on stealing the creative content of others." So, Chris, what do you think? Is it time for these companies to kind of accept that this is the changing face of how consumers absorb news, absorb media, absorb content, and adapt? Or what do you think?
I think they need to adapt because now clearly their old business model is working for everybody. Now, you had the problem with Time Warner Cable and CBS, but Time Warner had to back down. But, the market power of these broadcast networks and Hollywood generally to some extent, you've seen it become eaten away with the problems and the controversy over SOPA and CISPA and even the old Digital Millennium Copyright Act. You have these tech giants like Google and Apple that are getting into the content production business. You have Netflix, which you have streaming capabilities, and this streaming is based on cloud-based technology, which is something that the Aereo case does implicate, because what the networks are saying is we have the right to even kill off this cloud-based form of content that you can draw upon privately, into your own device. So the implications for this are very, very clear. The networks are going to lose power. Now, they've been losing it for years. They still have it because even though most people that watch network TV are old people like me, will die off eventually. And the young people who are streaming House of Cards on Netflix or watching Apple TV are going to be they're going to inherit the earth. And I don't think the networks have a business model that contemplates that. And this is pretty much forcing them to contemplate that.
Yeah, certainly now it's being contemplated in the Supreme Court. So I want to read from Aereo's statement here in response to this case in the Supreme Court. They say, quote, "We look forward to presenting our case to the Supreme Court, and we have every confidence that the court will validate and preserve a consumer's rights." So is that what it's about, Chris, consumers' rights?
No, it's about money, but but they have a point. I mean, the point is that the consumer basically leases their equipment. They're not stealing anything. They're basically an intermediary for the broadcast content. And the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit agreed with them. And people need to think about that. The Intermediate Appeals Court has agreed with Aereo, and it goes to the Supreme Court. You've got 8 justices hearing it because Justice Alito recused himself. So if there's a 4-4 tie, and there might be, Aereo wins. So this is their way of basically putting a thumb in the eye of the broadcast networks. And I don't think the broadcast networks are going to become cable networks where they just put all their content on cable. I think that's just an idle threat. But I think that's an idle threat of somebody who's used to having a lot of power. And then it's almost like a bully who gets bullied back. And then they just act crazy and say whatever comes to mind, because their shareholders certainly have not okayed this. And so there is a lot of trepidation. And so people are just going to make comments off the cuff like that, like we're just going to shut down. Well, that's not going to happen.
That's what they're saying. But if one thing that this points out is people do not want to pay for the media. If they can get it for free, if they can somehow get it on the internet, they're going to shut that television off. Chris, great to have you in the studio. Pleasure as always. That was Christopher Chambers, a journalism professor at Georgetown University.